Charisma, the word itself, comes from the Greek, meaning an ability to elicit favor in others. It's like a magnetism, a pull, something that captures attention and moves people almost like magic. Charisma can feel like holding a magic wand that grants you influence and power over others. You've seen it, haven't you? The way some people can walk into a room and instantly command attention. It's almost like a superpower. But let me tell you, there's something much deeper and far more lasting than charisma. And that's character. Now, character. That's a word with real weight behind it. Its roots also lie in Greek, but its meaning is completely different. It comes from the word for chisel, or the mark left by a chisel. A chisel is a sharp, unforgiving tool used to sculpt something out of tough material like marble or granite. It's used to strip away the excess, the unnecessary, until all that remains is the essential, the masterpiece. It's the sculpture you create out of the raw material of yourself. The raw material is always there. It's you, your experiences, your challenges, your triumphs. Everything that happens to you, whether good or bad, is an opportunity to pick up that chisel and shape yourself into something better, something stronger. Here's the thing. Charisma and character are fundamentally different, and understanding that distinction can make all the difference in how you approach life and leadership. Charisma, by its very nature, is external. It's about how others see you, how you make them feel, the way you command a room or inspire a crowd. But character's internal. It's about who you are when no one's watching. It's the sum total of your values, your principles, and your actions over time. Imagine you're stranded on a desert island, just you and your thoughts. Now, in that situation, what use would charisma be? None. There's no one to charm, no crowd to sway, no one to inspire, but your character. Your character would mean everything. It would determine how you handle isolation, how you face your fears, how you persevere. That's the thing about character. It's not for show, it's for you. It's your foundation, your anchor, your compass. Character is what remains after you've stripped away all the unnecessary fluff, all the distractions, all the superficial stuff that doesn't really matter. It's the essence of who you are. And let me tell you, when you've chiseled your character to its core, what you're left with is unshakable. It's the kind of strength that doesn't waver, no matter the circumstances. Now let's bring this back to the real world, because we don't live on desert islands. We live in communities and organizations surrounded by people. And in these settings, the differences between charisma and character become even more striking, especially in leadership. Take this scenario. A charismatic leader steps up and paints a picture so vivid, so dazzling that people are swept off their feet. They might promise pie in the sky or warn that the sky itself is about to fall. The energy, the passion, it's contagious. But here's the risk. When those grand promises don't come to pass, the charisma fades. The magic runs out. And what are you left with? Disillusionment. Now contrast that with a leader of character. A leader of character doesn't rely on theatrics or overblown promises. They don't need to lead people into illusions. Instead, they inspire by being grounded in truth, by looking within for their energy and vision. They don't need to create a spectacle because their integrity speaks for itself. Here's another difference. Charisma can inspire fierce loyalty, even devotion. But that kind of loyalty can quickly turn into dependency. People start relying too much on the leader, forgetting their own strengths and capabilities. It's like a charismatic coach who leads a team to victory after victory, but leaves the organization floundering when they're gone. The success was tied to the leader's presence, not to a sustainable system. A leader of character, though, takes a different approach. They build others up. They delegate. They create systems that can thrive long after they've stepped away. They don't need to be the indispensable heart and soul of the organization, because they know true leadership is about empowering others, not making themselves the center of attention. And let's not forget the pressure that comes with charisma. If you're leading with charisma alone, you've got to keep the magic flowing. People expect you to keep pulling rabbits out of the hat, to keep dazzling them. And if the magic ever falters, the admiration can quickly turn to doubt. Or worse, boredom. But a leader of character doesn't need to perform. Their leadership isn't about the show, it's about the substance. And because they value truth above all else, they create an environment where people feel safe to speak up, to challenge ideas, to contribute meaningfully. They're not afraid of disagreement because they know that growth often comes from discomfort. Let me paint a picture for you about building character. It's a bit like an artist sculpting a masterpiece from raw stone. You see, a sculpture doesn't create itself. A block of marble doesn't magically transform into image without the artist's chisel and the artist's vision. And the same is true for your character. It doesn't just happen on its own. It requires your conscious effort, your steady hand, and your deliberate choices. Character is the result of hundreds, maybe even thousands, of decisions you make day in and day out. It's about taking who you are right now and shaping it into who you really want to become. If you skip this process of deliberate design, you'll still be somebody. You'll have a personality, sure, but personality isn't the same as character. And believe me, there's a world of difference between the two. There's an old joke about football teams that lose every game. The coach says, well, we sure built a lot of character this year. It's as if character is the consolation prize for not achieving what you really wanted. Or worse, as if adversity alone is what molds character. But I don't buy that for a second. Adversity by itself doesn't build character. Success doesn't destroy it either. What builds character is how you respond, how you choose to act when life throws you its highs and lows. Character comes from qualities you deliberately cultivate within yourself. Think of it like planting a seed or building a fire. You don't just throw some wood on the ground and hope for flames. You gather the right materials, you strike the match, and you tend that fire until it burns bright. It's the same with your character. You've got to look deep inside, find those sparks of strength, discipline, and integrity, and nurture them into a roaring blaze. Here's the amazing part. When you commit yourself to shaping your character, it has this incredible self-sustaining quality. The more you use it, the stronger it grows. It's like the burning bush in the Bible, flames that burn without being consumed. Every time your character is tested, it replenishes itself. It feeds off your commitment, your action, and your persistence. Now, let me be blunt for a moment. If you reach a certain point in your life and find you haven't achieved much, not by anyone else's standards, but by your own, it's time to ask some hard questions. Blaming bad luck or a tough past might feel comforting, but it won't move you forward. At some point, the strength of your character comes into question. Did you put in the work? Did you chisel away at the rough edges to reveal the masterpiece inside? Because here's the truth. The hand that guides the chisel is yours. The choices are yours. The masterpiece, or the lack of it, is yours too. That's the real work of life, my friend, and it's worth every ounce of effort you've got. Now, success is a personal thing. Your definition of success might look completely different from someone else's. And that's exactly how it should be. Now, I'm not saying you need a big bank account or a Rolls Royce to feel successful. But hey, if that's part of your vision, then go for it. Own it. In some fields, success is measured by the numbers. If you're in one of those professions and the results aren't there, it's time to take a good, honest look at yourself. And here's the key. It starts with character. Character is the foundation for everything. It's not something you can hold in your hand or measure with a ruler, but let me tell you, it's as real as the ground you're standing on. Without it, you're like a car with no driver, sitting in the driveway going nowhere. Imagine you're driving across town to get somewhere important. What do you need? A car, sure. Gas in the tank. Absolutely. But that's not all. You need to know how to drive. You need judgment to know when to hit the brakes or when to step on the gas. You need intention. A real desire to reach your destination. And you need discipline. You can't be stopping every 5 minutes for pie and coffee if you're serious about getting there. Now about your car for a second. You've got ways to check its condition, right? You look at the tires to see if the tread is worn. You check the oil, make sure the lights work, and keep track of the mileage. Simple stuff, but it keeps you on the road. Now, Here's the question. How often do you check the condition of your character? How often do you measure your progress, your growth? You can put together a financial statement to see your net worth. You can look back 10 years and ask yourself, am I better off today than I was back then? These are the markers of progress, just like the tread on a tire or the gas in the tank. And let me tell you, character works the same way. If your character isn't strong enough to get you where you want to go, you've got to fix it. But here's the good news. You can fix it. It just takes one thing. Ruthless honesty with yourself. Yes, it might sting a little at first. Growth always does. But once you accept that character is the foundation for achievement, you'll gladly pay the price. Why? Because the rewards, success, fulfillment, legacy are worth it. Always worth it. Just like the gas gauge in a car shows whether your tank is full, empty, or somewhere in between, you can gauge your character in the same way. The question is, do you have enough fuel? Enough character to get to your destination in life? The difference is, while a car runs on one type of fuel, I believe your character has 4 different gauges you can check. The first gauge. On the right-hand side, I want you to imagine the letter R. It stands for refusal. On the left, there's the letter C, complacency. Now let's talk about refusal. If your character is strong, there are certain things you simply won't tolerate. You refuse to accept less than your best effort in your work, your relationships, and your personal life. Does that mean everything will go perfectly? Of course not. Life has variables you can't control, but your effort. That's non-negotiable. With your family, your refusal should be just as firm. You refuse to compromise on their well-being. And for yourself, you should refuse dishonesty, pettiness, or unethical behavior. That's the right side of the gauge. Strong refusal. Now, the left side. Complacency. Complacency is that little voice that says, I'll let it slide. Or worse, what's the difference anyway? Where are you on that scale? Do you lean toward refusal, standing firm in your values? Or are you letting complacency creep in? If it's the latter, it might be time for a pit stop to refuel your character. Now the second gauge, this one has a D on the right for decision and an M on the left for maybe. Are you decisive? Do you reach a fork in the road and confidently choose right or left? Or do you stand there scratching your head saying, well, maybe I'll go this way, or maybe I'll go that way, and end up going nowhere? Think about the big decisions in your life right now. Maybe it's leaving a job to start your own business. Maybe it's a relationship decision. Are you the kind of person who makes a choice and takes action? Or are you stuck in the land of maybe? If it's the latter, it's time to move toward decision. That's where progress begins. Next, the third gauge. On this one, there's a bright red W on the right for want and a dingy green A on the left for apathy. The W stands for want. That burning desire that says, I want it bad enough to do whatever it takes. It's the kind of want that gets you out of bed at 4 a.m. to work on your dream, or keeps you in law school for 5 years while working a full-time job because you're determined to become an attorney. Want is powerful. It moves mountains. The A, though, that's apathy. Apathy says, I don't really care. And let me tell you, if you don't care, nothing good is coming your way. So ask yourself, where's your needle on this gauge? Are you fired up with want, or are you coasting on apathy? The fourth and final gauge. On the right is the letter P for promise, and on the left is the letter F for fear. Promise is the commitment you make to yourself and others. Your word, your integrity, your belief in a better future. Fear, on the other hand, is what holds you back. It's that little whisper that says, what if I fail? Or what if it's too hard? Here's the truth. Fear is always going to be there. But when you focus on your promise, on what you've committed to, you can push through fear and keep moving forward. Let me tell you something. If you're a person of strong character, you don't just set goals. You make a promise to yourself that you're going to achieve them. And here's the key. You don't add or what. Because the idea of failing doesn't even cross your mind. You've made a promise, and you're going to keep it. When you decide to drive to the grocery store, do you stand at your front door wondering, what if I don't make it? Of course not. You intend to get there. You assume you'll get there. You know you'll get there. That's how promises work. Now let's talk about fear for a moment. Fear shows up when you fail to make a real promise to yourself. Instead of focusing on where you're going, you start thinking about all the bad things that could happen along the way. Before you know it, fear whispers, wouldn't it be easier to just stay home? Isn't it safer to stay in bed? Why not pull the covers over your head and forget about the whole thing? But that's not who you are. Or at least it's not who you were when you started out in life. Let me take you back to a time when you didn't let fear stop you. When you were learning to walk, you made a silent promise to yourself. You didn't say, maybe I'll try this walking thing, but only if it's easy. No, you simply decided, I'm going to do this. Sure, you stumbled. Sure, you fell. Maybe you've even cried a little. But here's the amazing thing. You didn't focus on the falls. You didn't let the stumble stop you. Each time you hit the ground, you got back up because you had made a promise to yourself that you were going to walk across that room, and guess what? You did it. How long did it take? Who cares? You kept going until you succeeded. That's what matters. Back then, you had the strength of character to overcome fear and keep your promise. Now, here's my question. Do you still have that strength? Whether you realize it or not, you do. It's still there, waiting for you to tap into it. So let me challenge you right now. Ask yourself the same question you instinctively answered as a child. How long am I going to work to achieve my dream? And give yourself the same answer you did back then. As long as it takes. Because here's the truth. Making that kind of promise takes strength of character. And strength of character is the foundation for achievement. Always has been, always will be. Now, the good news is that charisma isn't something you're born with. It's not reserved for the chosen few or locked away as a secret weapon of the gifted. Charisma is something you can develop. It's a skill, a mindset, and a way of being that anyone can cultivate. And if you're serious about success in any area of life, whether it's your business, your relationships, or even your personal growth, building your charisma is not optional. It's essential. Charisma isn't about being loud or flashy. It's not about having the spotlight on you or demanding attention. True charisma comes from authenticity. It's the confidence to be yourself, the warmth to connect with others, and the clarity of purpose that draws people toward you. Confidence is simply the belief in yourself and your ability to figure things out. It's not about knowing everything or pretending to have all the answers. It's about carrying yourself in a way that says, I may not know it all, but I know enough to start, and I'll learn the rest as I go. Confidence is attractive because it reassures others. When people sense that you're steady and secure in yourself, they naturally feel more at ease in your presence. But confidence alone isn't enough. Charisma also requires warmth. This is where many people miss the mark. Warmth is the ability to make others feel seen, heard, and valued. It's not about trying to impress people, it's about expressing genuine interest in them. A charismatic person listens more than they talk. They smile sincerely, not just with their lips, but with their eyes and their whole being. They ask questions, they lean in, and they show others that they truly care. Think about the most charismatic person you've ever met. Chances are they made you feel like the most important person in the room. They weren't distracted by their phone or looking over your shoulder to see who else was around. They gave you their full attention, and in that moment you felt seen. That's the power of warmth. It creates connection. And connection is what makes people want to follow you, work with you, and be around you. The next piece of charisma is purpose. Purpose gives your charisma direction. Without purpose, charisma is like a car with no destination. It might be impressive, but it doesn't go anywhere. Purpose is what makes people believe in you because they can see that you believe in something bigger than yourself. When you have a clear sense of direction and a passion that fuels you, it's infectious. People want to be part of something meaningful. They want to align themselves with someone who knows where they're going and why it matters. These qualities aren't just nice to have, they're powerful tools that can transform your life. Whether you're leading a team, negotiating a deal, or simply building stronger relationships, charisma opens doors that would otherwise remain closed. Now, how do you build your charisma? Start with your confidence. Confidence is built through preparation and action. It's not something you wait to feel, it's something you create. Step into situations that challenge you. Take risks, even small ones. Each time you stretch beyond your comfort zone, you grow your confidence. And remember, confidence isn't about perfection. It's about progress. It's about showing up even when you're scared and trusting that you'll figure it out along the way. Charisma is about energy. It's about the way you move through life. When someone walks into a room, you can feel their presence before they even say a word. That's energy. Charisma is that magnetism, that pull, that silent invitation that makes people want to lean in and be part of what you're doing. But here's the thing. Energy isn't created by accident. It's generated by intention. To become a charismatic person, you've got to start with your mindset. How do you see yourself? How do you talk to yourself? Because the way you see yourself is the way others will see you. If you walk into a room unsure of yourself, second guessing everything, that's the energy you're putting out there. And guess what? People will feel it. But when you walk into a room knowing you've got value to bring, people can't help but notice. They may not know why, but they'll feel it. Charisma is confidence, yes, but not arrogance. It's the kind of confidence that comes from knowing who you are and what you stand for. It's rooted in authenticity. People can smell fake a mile away. If you're pretending to be something you're not, you might fool a few people for a little while, but eventually the mask slips. Charismatic people don't wear masks. They don't have to. They're comfortable in their own skin. And that comfort is contagious. So how do you get there? How do you build that kind of confidence? You do it by becoming a person of value. You invest in yourself. You grow. You learn. You develop skills. You set goals and you achieve them. You become someone you're proud to be. Because when you're proud of who you are, you don't need to impress anyone. Your presence speaks for itself. Another key to charisma is your ability to connect. Charismatic people have a way of making others feel seen, heard, and valued. They listen with their whole being, not just their ears. When they're with you, they're with you. They're present. And in a world full of distractions, that kind of presence is rare. It's powerful. But connection goes beyond just listening. It's about empathy. It's about understanding people. Not just what they say, but what they mean. Charismatic people have an ability to step into someone else's shoes, to see the world through their eyes. That kind of understanding builds trust. It creates a bond. And when people trust you, they're drawn to you. Now, charismatic people are master communicators, but here's the secret. It's not just about what they say, it's about how they say it. It's their tone, their pacing, their choice of words. It's the way they tell a story, the way they paint a picture with their words. But more than that, it's the emotion behind the words. Charismatic people speak with passion. They believe in what they're saying, and that belief is contagious. And don't underestimate the power of humor. Charismatic people know how to laugh, and they know how to make others laugh. Humor breaks down barriers. It puts people at ease. It makes you approachable. But humor isn't just about telling jokes, it's about finding joy in the moment, about not taking yourself too seriously. People are drawn to those who can lighten the mood, who can find the silver lining. Next, forget body language. Charisma isn't just in your words, it's in your posture, your gestures, your expressions. Stand tall. Make eye contact. Smile. Not just with your mouth, but with your whole face, your whole energy. When you're animated, when you're alive, people can feel it. And remember, your body language should align with your words. If you're saying one thing but your body is saying another, people will pick up on the disconnect. Charismatic people also have a sense of purpose. They're going somewhere and they invite others to come along for the ride. They're not just drifting through life, they're driven by something bigger than themselves. When you have a clear vision, when you're passionate about your purpose, it's magnetic. People want to be part of something meaningful. They want to be inspired. But let's be clear, charisma isn't about being perfect. In fact, perfection can be a barrier to connection. Charismatic people aren't afraid to show their flaws. They're not afraid to laugh at themselves, to admit when they're wrong, to be vulnerable. Vulnerability isn't weakness, it's strength. It's what makes you human. And when you're human, people can relate to you. Now, you might be thinking, this all sounds great, but I'm not naturally charismatic. Let me stop you right there. Charisma isn't something you're born with. It's something you cultivate. It's a choice. It's a habit. Every time you walk into a room, every time you have a conversation, you have an opportunity to practice. Pay attention to your energy. Be present. Listen more than you talk. Look people in the eye. Smile. Practice empathy. Find ways to connect. And most importantly, be yourself, because the world doesn't need another copy of someone else. It needs you. Your unique energy, your unique gifts. Charismatic people leave people better than they found them. They uplift. They inspire. They motivate. They leave a lasting impression. Not because they're the loudest or the flashiest, but because they're genuine. So if you want to become a charismatic person, start from the inside out. Work on your confidence. Develop your skills. Cultivate empathy. Sharpen your communication. Stand for something bigger than yourself. And most importantly, be real. Be authentic. Because when you show up as your best, most genuine self, you won't have to chase charisma. It will find you. And when it does, you'll light up every room you enter.